morning. I should be editing a video right now, but instead I'm procrastinating by starting a whole new project. Today is April 21st, and the Met Gala is on May 4th, or May 5th, May 3rd, I don't know, one of those. And here's the thing, is that I have always wanted to make a dress for the Met Gala. Was I invited? No. Will I ever be? Probably not. But that's not gonna stop me because I love a good prompt, and I really like the prompts this year. Now this year, the Met has said they want people drawing inspiration from all exhibits. And I personally hope to be the first one pulling inspiration from the 17th century European fine furniture exhibit. Because what else would I do? Hey Xyla, are you up here? Oh, I see her. Since needing a mannequin of myself seems to be a recurring problem on this channel, I finally made one a couple years ago. Welcome back, Xyla Foam. Now there is something I have to think about when I'm working with this, is that it's almost Xyla sized. It's a little bit bigger than I am. Typically life casting is done nude. However, I was filming this for YouTube and I'm not that kind of channel. So I was wearing clothing and the clothing like pulled away from my body in some places. I do have to get it mounted though. How did I do this? I love being a hoarder. I got all of these random pieces from the scrap bin. What are the odds I drill through the table? High, quite high. I love the beginning of a project when none of the reality of it has hit yet and you're just like, I'm so excited. Oh, it. We got legs, now we just gotta attach the body. This is literally why they invented duct tape. Boom, perfect. And you don't need your arms, ma'am. All right, armless mannequin. Let's make you a dress. Okay, so here is my loose sketch of my vision for this dress. It's a little bit princessy, it's a little bit inspired by the royalty of that era of France. So we've got this sort of corset top, but my true motivation behind making this dress is I want to do marquetry everywhere, which is the art of cutting detailed pieces of wood veneer and piecing them together into a greater image, usually a very detailed image. So I went and found this corset pattern on Etsy and I bought it and I brought it into Illustrator, and then I deleted all the seam allowances because I'm not gonna need them because I'm not sewing. These are just gonna be like butt joints, like a stitch and glue kayak. I know I'm gonna be modifying it, but I wanna just cut this out of scrap paper, tape it all together and see how it even like fits before I start modifying it. So let's do that. Now the star of this video is definitely going to be my laser cutter. I got this Smart Shop EX Laguna laser cutter as a gift from Laguna last year and I've been loving it. I've been using it on my airplane build. So I've been like testing out wing rib designs and such, but ain't no way I'm cutting all these veneers by hand, especially when I have this machine and especially if I'm gonna be doing marquetry. I'm cheating. All right, let's see if this works. Xyla from the future here, 4 or 5 renditions of this pattern later, I did end up modifying pretty much every single panel pretty significantly to end up with the final corset that I liked. So I would say the final corset is my own design. However, having a place to jump from was really, really helpful because I was able to look at this and say, okay, here's how I want to change it. And so I like drew on the corset where I wanted to edit it. And then I went back into Illustrator and edited it. Overall, this project gave me a huge amount of respect for pattern makers and seamstresses for their very innate understanding of the geometry of the human body because it is tough. Like, I thought boats were hard. The human body is hard. Anyway, once I'd marked all my changes, I brought them over to the computer, edited the pattern as best as I could into it, and cut out a couple options. So especially for the front panels are really important that I get the shape right. And so I gave myself a couple options, assembled all of them, mixed and matched all of the various corset pieces, and eventually landed on one that I think I was okay with. It didn't end up being final, but it was better. Good morning. Welcome to day 2 of making a Met Gala dress for absolutely no reason. I just went into the shed and like rustled up my hordes of veneer. I think I'm going to do my first wooden version because I want to see how it comes together in wood. And I'm gonna use this like quarter sawn oak just because I don't have enough of it to make the skirt and I don't think it's like what I really want to make the final dress out of. Let me arrange everything onto this piece, see if it fits. 6.5 by 32. You don't need to watch me do this. Just pretend like wham, and then it's all arranged. Oh, just picking it up, and I split it. I mean, it doesn't help. This is quarter sawn oak. It's like the least strong. I mean, it is literally labeled flaky quarter sawn oak veneer. All right, now it is time to see how terrible this is to assemble. I'm quite afraid of how much it's gonna crack, but we shall prevail, or we won't, and we'll reevaluate. Only time will tell. I do a little bit wish I had like backed it in duct tape or something to hold it all together before I had laser cut it. And at this point, I'm just taping it together however I can to see if the geometry in the wood is gonna work. That went so much better than I was expecting. I'm like freaked out. All right, it's pretty corset shaped. Let's see if it works at all. It's super delicate in this state. And clearly my plan to heavily tape the inside so that I can fiberglass the outside is gonna need some rejiggering, but I'm a full send anyway. This is just a prototype. So I should probably pick out my fiberglass. So here's my pile of scrap fiberglass. I love doing fashion projects because I get to go through all my scraps from building like bigger stuff. This is big enough. Yeah, look at it, it even has like it has that notch already in it. Now, is this gonna be able to lay flat is the question. This feels like a morgue. And then as soon as I started taking the outer masking tape off to fiberglass it, it started falling apart. So I reevaluated and just coated the entire inside duct tape. Okay, the camera died and that was an incredibly frustrating process, so I might have got it on my phone, but I ended up having to duct tape the inside. This is definitely not the final version. There's like a lot of mistakes, but I kind of want to just like play out all the steps so that I know what I'm getting into. And I fear this isn't gonna hold a shape super well. I might have to start over on the pattern, to be honest. Now, pretty much all of the structural integrity of this corset is gonna be coming from the fiberglass. The wood is honestly just decorative. And fiberglassing is the process of taking this fabric, which is actually like glass fiber woven together, and infusing it with an epoxy resin. In this case, it's turning clear because the refractive index of the epoxy and the refractive index of the fiberglass are the same. And so once they merge together, light can pass like in a straight line through it. And that's why it has this really magical looking effect. So we've had a little catastrophe here. The seams pulled apart, so then the fiberglass pulled up. So you can see it split here, and then this curve slipped, the wood slipped over this piece, so like those aren't sitting. Now that I'm saying this out loud, I've built stitch and glue boats before. I should just assemble it like a stitch and glue boat. Silly. Silly me. And at this point, I was finally struck by genius. So the project that I'm procrastinating editing the video for is that I built a camper using foam and a technique called poor man's fiberglass. And what that basically is you water down wood glue, paint it over your material you're trying to strengthen, and then lay a canvas over that, iron the canvas, and then paint more wood glue. And you get this like really strong fiberglass-like structure, but for way cheaper. And I was like, why don't I just fabric back the wood so that it doesn't fall apart on the grain lines? Then at least there will be like cotton holding it together a little bit. Between that realization and my stitch and glue boat realization, I'm really starting to cook here. And how stitch and glue boats are held together is you typically stitch the panels together. I used masking tape and then go in with CA glue and accelerator, and that is how you like temporarily glue all your pieces together. And CA glue is deceptively strong. Now the real question is, does it fit? And I don't have a mirror in my workshop, so I'm just gonna use the camera monitor. Oh, honestly, it's like not too bad. So what do we think of the shape? Thoughts? Opinions? There's not as much gappage as I thought there was gonna be. It ripples a little funny right here, admittedly. But maybe that's just part of the charm. Because I'm running out of time. I gave it a little sanding. Took off all the like masking tape. It looks pretty cool. And this isn't even like the final vision. I'm thinking middle panel maple, these two panels mahogany with the grain going like towards the point. So it is time to fiberglass this version, prototype number 2. And this is TotalBoat 2-to-1 high performance medium epoxy. And thank goodness this time when I fiberglassed, there was no duct tape on the inside to let go, so it actually held its shape. Okay, I'm happy enough with this top. There's a couple things I want to change. Oh, that's covering the mic, that's probably terrible. The couple things I want to change, but I think I'm ready to move forward. And I need to start messing with Marquetry because I haven't done like serious Marquetry with the laser cutter. And there is a kerf that I have to take into account. So I'm gonna start running test pieces and see how to navigate that laser kerf. And hopefully I figure it out really quickly. I have some ideas, so at least that's a start. I'm gonna save you the pain of my actual trial and error process. I started with a piece of scrap oak veneer. First, I figured out the lowest possible speed and power settings I could use so that I had the smallest kerf. And then I started messing around in Adobe Illustrator with stroke width, trying to like separate the two and see if that worked. And then I realized, duh, that Lightburn actually has this built in and you can do a kerf offset. And so I messed around with that and decided that 0.2 millimeter kerf offset in any wood that is not oak, which laser cuts really inconsistently, is the best. This is not bad. I think I've got it. So it's a 0.2 millimeter kerf, but the maple works so much better because the oak is so inconsistent. It is time. I've got my lovely piece of bird's eye maple veneer in here, and I'm gonna try cutting the first Marquetry panel, which will be the front panel. Well, that didn't work. And what you're seeing here is the downside of designing things digitally on a big screen is that I kind of didn't have a concept of the size of the intricate details that I was creating. And so I went back in, redesigned, and made everything bigger and less detailed. Not that it is not detailed. Can we just also give the laser cutter a shout out for how great of a job it's doing? Like, it looks so cool.
This went a lot better than the last one. The roses are still kind of tough, but I feel like it might be salvageable.
I've always had a really soft spot for Marquetry. I think because I have a soft spot for the kind of people who enjoy Marquetry, which is funny because I'm watching this video back and I'm like, can you imagine if I was cutting this out by hand? Absolutely not.
All right, my logic is sort of, if I can get these roses to work, I think the rest of it will work. This is definitely the hard part.
And thus began the tedious process of selecting a wood veneer color, then determining the grain orientation that I wanted, laser cutting it, bringing it over, rinse, repeat, all night. Like literally all night.
I'm just trying to fill in a couple gaps here, so I'm just gonna make a putty.
And this is made of kitchen flour and wood glue. I do this a lot with epoxy, kitchen flour and epoxy mixed to a nice wood color. But for this, I just wanted to fill in some gaps. And then you can't tell here, but I put masking tape on the back to hold everything in place. And then to hold it all together, I'm gonna paint very slightly watered down wood glue and then apply cotton fabric over it the same way that I did with that wood prototype, and then put it in a press overnight and let it dry.
Probably could have used a little more glue, but.
Okay. And to cut the side panels. I don't know why I feel the need to preemptively defend myself for using modern technology in Marquetry, but I want to point out that designing all this stuff digitally is also a skill and also took a lot of time. Just because you're not seeing me do it doesn't mean that I didn't spend hours in front of my computer deciding how I wanted all the roses to sit on the corset and stuff. So I went ahead and pre-cut everything, so I really hope they fit. Last night I was like cutting, fitting, and that took forever, so I figured just hope for the best on this one. So time to just buckle down and get inlaying. Okay, it is time to run my mahogany. This is the only sheet I have, and all of the pieces sit at really weird angles so that the grain comes up to peaks like
at the neckline the way I want. So I'm very nervous, but there's nothing I can do but run the job. So wish me luck. Alright, time to start assembling my dress! Messed up, so I had to do it again, which kills me because I didn't have any of that pale mahogany left. But I did have this, I think it's still mahogany, this ribbon striped. Let's see if I screwed it up this time. First I was kind of upset because I didn't like it as much as the light mahogany here, but hear me out. The dark has a lot of character. I got these strips of purfling, and I just really feel like it kind of ties it together really well.
And I'm assembling this final version with the same technique that I did the prototype because that worked super well, plus the purfling. Very slight added challenge.
Good morning. Walked back in the workshop and this still looks awesome. I am so excited. I am going to put these side panels on, which means I have to put another purfling strip in, and then I'm going to sand it and fiberglass the front while I work on the back. You know, there's no point in me filming this. It's just gonna be a lot of that for the next couple hours, probably. All right, let's just like make it happen. Why didn't that work? You mean I actually have to do it?
Summer is right around the corner, and that means it's time to bust out those shorts. Unfortunately, that also means it's time to start dealing with the irritation that comes from shaving your legs all over again. Ollie's 5-blade razors advertise a smooth shave, but if anything, it feels like the more blades a razor has, the worse my experience is. But why? Most cartridge razors use springs and flexible mounts that let the blade move during a shave. When a blade flexes, its cutting angle changes mid-stroke. Your skin senses that instability, and to compensate, you instinctively add pressure. More pressure means more friction, and then every additional blade passes over skin that's already been stressed. But today's sponsor, Henson, has finally fixed the blade. At Henson's aerospace machine shop, they apply the same tolerance-controlled thinking they use for precision cutting to a razor. The blade is held at a fixed geometry, exposed just 13 thou past the shave plane. That way, it can't flex and the cutting angle stays consistent, so you stop pressing harder than you need to. Just one blade doing the job correctly, every time. For 100 free blades with the purchase of a razor, go to hensonshaving.com/Xyla and use code Xyla at checkout. Make sure both products are in your cart for the code to take effect. Thank you so much to Henson for sponsoring this video.
All right, time to turn this place back into a morgue. It's like tucking her to bed. Nothing to see here, officer.
I'm pretty sure I say this every single time I fiberglass on this channel, but the key to a great wet layup is how well you lay the fiberglass down while it's still dry. And then when you add the epoxy on top of it, you're not gonna be fighting the glass, and it's so much easier to work with it when it's dry. And then I always start in the middle. I think over time you develop a sense of like which curves are the best place to start, but I always start in the middle and work my way out. The way you work around curves, you just want to make sure you're never pulling the glass in a weird axis. Just be very, very gentle. You'll be okay. Fiberglassing is really not that bad, I promise. And once that was cured, of course, a flood coat to fill the weave.
Good morning. It's the morning. Prototyped a couple back options, and I think I'm ready to cut the final version, so let's do that.
And for these maple swirls, I wanted them to add a little bit of texture and not just be inlaid. I also wanted the additional strength of doubling up on the veneer because of the lacing, so I glued it on top of the fiberglass, which I thought looked really cool. And the most important part of any good fiberglass job is the sanding. Very unfortunate. I do want to add the absolute MVP of sanding for this project was my Surf Prep sander with the foam pads that can actually like sand on these inside curves. Really great.
Now the key with varnish is to start at one side, and you always want to make sure you maintain a wet edge.
And you should be brushing over each spot 3 times, first with the grain, then across the grain, and then you tip it again with the grain. And that'll make sure that you hit every spot and that it's smooth and you get all the air bubbles out.
So I just ran to the thrift store and got a couple of skirts. This one I feel like I could make in wood and it would work just because it's already made of like pretty rigid panels. All right, it's midnight. I've just put the most beautiful sheet of bird's eye maple veneer in here. I really want to go to bed, but also I leave for Vegas in the morning to go judge BattleBots, and I want to see this turn into a skirt first. So, here it goes. I put the sheet in without processing at all, which I came to regret later. And I did that because I was in a rush and I was going to Vegas and I wanted to see progress. And the reality is that I lost a lot of time by doing that. I wish I had backed it in canvas first, which means I would have ironed it first and it would have been like stabilized before I went to do all of this really intricate inlay. My heart was beating so fast that whole time because the piece is like a little bit warped, and the laser just needs to hit one piece and then be straight, but it worked. Good morning, it is Monday. I was unfortunately out of town since Friday morning. I was in Vegas judging BattleBots, which should come out soon, and it was awesome. But I did sort of like put a piece of plywood on top of my skirt pieces to flatten them over the weekend, so hopefully at least the weekend wasn't completely wasted. Unfortunately, the Met Gala is tonight, so I think that my goal of getting this video out, getting both the dress done and the video out by the Met Gala is maybe not so true. So, you know, if someone needs a dress for next year's Met Gala, hit me up, I'll make you something cool. But let me take these off and see. Ideally, I should have done this before I laser cut them, but you know, I'm not known for planning in advance. It is flatter. I mean, it's curlier, but it's less ripply. It's like more uniformly flat, so that's nice. So I have just laser cut all of my inlay pieces. And I think it's time to put some music on, buckle down, and crank these all out. So, time-lapse mode. Now, I knew this was gonna be tedious, but I will be completely honest, I did not realize just how tedious it was gonna be. Each gore took about 45 minutes to an hour, and at 8 gores, that means that this whole process of just inserting each of the tiny little pieces took like 8 hours. There's a lot of ways I would have done this differently to speed up this process if I was doing it again, but you have to do it once the bad way to learn how to do it the good way. That took forever, but all 8 gores of the skirt have inlays now. The front is this side, so I need to get them ready to turn into an actual skirt. My plan is to do the same canvas glue that I did on the top, but to do all the pieces together. So I'm gonna start by taping them together on the front. And I'll just do that all the way around. I'm very nervous. So this is a watered down wood glue, and I'm just gonna lay the canvas on there and hope for the best. Because the veneer is gonna soak up water. This turned out to be an incredibly frustrating and slightly disastrous process because as the veneer soaked up water and glue, it started to ripple and change shape, and then I couldn't get the canvas to lay down flat, except that like once there's glue down, you can't really go back. It's rippling. I don't know if I just like clamp it down and hope and pray. This might have worked if I had a huge sheet press, but even then, I'm not sure. And that's all the heaviest things I could find. Good morning. Hope that this worked. I think there's gonna have to be some kind of like intermediate stage that I figure out here. Because it was like fully contained. I bet it didn't dry all the way, but I need the part that, I need the bonds to at least be dry. Moment of truth. Oh no.
it's so ridged. It's not good. The only thing I could potentially think of is ironing it, but yeah, oh, these are not staying. Oh my God, what happened? Super rippled. Definitely have to peel everything before I iron it. Oh, this is so bad. It. Oh, I'm so mad. What the hell? Why did this work at a small scale and not at... I don't know if I've ever been this mad working on a project. This is terrible. God. I have never been filled with so much hate and so much rage. There was a piece of me that was like, maybe if this goes really well, I won't have to fiberglass it. I cannot wait to just drown this in plastic. All right, I did some Googling and some thinking, and I'm making like a homemade veneer softener that is 6 parts water, 3 parts alcohol, and 1 part glycerin. So I just got some glycerin from CVS. I'm really worried about the water though, making it ripple again. All right, let me put this in a spray bottle. All right, I'm not wildly optimistic. In fact, I'm so unoptimistic, I already heated up the iron. I fear I've made it worse. Yeah, I made it worse. Oh, good, we're back to where we were this morning. This. Holy fucking shit. At this point, I decided to just give up on keeping it in circle skirt form and just cut all the gores out so I could flatten them individually and then deal with the consequences later. This might be a terrible idea, but this is 3 parts glue, 1 part water, 1/2 part glycerin. I just want to see if I can like iron it flat with the glue in there. Okay, I needed to chill and experiment and not film for a second because I was coming apart. This was a sample piece and I am not displeased with the way that this came out. So I think I'm gonna full send on a new strategy, which requires patience. And I think that's the problem. The Met Gala was last night, so I'm really feeling like it should be done already. But realistically, why does it matter? It's not like I was gonna go to the Met Gala anyway, so, you know. Now I'm just trying to make the best thing that I can. Basically, I want like as much clamping pressure as possible. So I wanted it to be as small as possible so I can just get as many clamps as I can. I laser cut 2 plywood gore pieces. And then I also laser cut a bunch of parchment paper that like fits over this perfectly. So take one of my ripply pieces so you can see how ripply this is. And I'm gonna paint this glue, water, glycerin mixture. It's 3 parts glue, 1 part water, maybe a 1/2 part glycerin, sort of arbitrary. And then carefully add it to my stack here and do the next one. All right, and now that I'm temporary clamped here, I can start breaking out the big boys. This is like infinitely more clamping pressure than I've been able to give it so far, so if this doesn't work, I really don't know what will. Good morning. I'm in a better mood today. Hopefully it stays that way. If this didn't work, I will return to being in a bad mood. Anyway. Find out together. How'd we do? Still rippled. Excellent. At this point, I decided it was time to fall back on my like Hail Mary last resort and iron each gore as flat as I could and then sand it smooth and then just fiberglass them all flat on the table. And my logic was with 1.5 ounce glass, it would be so thin, but just glassing it all will lock it into as flat of the shape as I could get it. And then as I start manipulating it into a skirt, they won't start rippling on me again, they won't pick up moisture. And I do think this was the right call, but it was definitely tedious. 1.5 ounce glass is the most difficult fiberglass weight I've ever worked with. It's really, really thin, it's really, really light, and it really likes to float to the top of epoxy. So the key with working with this glass is to keep your epoxy as thin as possible. Only use a scraper, don't use a brush, because a brush will put too much epoxy in there, and just scrape the wood and squeeze out as much epoxy as possible, and that'll force the glass to lay flat to the wood. This was the move. And then while the epoxy was in the green stage, which is once it's gelled but is not yet fully cured, I go in and trim off the excess with a knife. And that's just the easiest way to get like a nice clean edge. Okay, I'm starting to trust the process a little bit more. The end goal is still for each of these to bend that way. Okay, I laser cut these little half moon shapes, and it works really well. So like this is the vision. So I gave it a little test run on the entire skirt. And it's not bad, I just need to figure out how to make the middle not bow out. All right, last night I didn't film it, but I came in and I gave all of these a flood coat of epoxy because I realized it would be a lot easier to do that and sand it while it was on the bench. Okay, I'm gonna show you my plan. So I have skirt is in separate pieces because I had to cut it apart so I could spend the last 3 days screaming. I have canvas strips that are gonna be used to glue the pieces back together. After much deliberation, I decided on epoxy rather than wood glue just because it's a little bit stronger. To curve the skirt, I have these curved pieces. Now the thing is, it like tulips a little bit. And so while I glue these canvas pieces down, I'm also gonna glue these little wood pieces. And I cut all of these. See this pile of sticks behind me? That's all scraps from the airplane that I couldn't bear to throw away. And what that has left me with is a bunch of scraps that are really strong and really light. Am I using aircraft grade lumber on this stupid skirt? Yes. But also, it was like destined for the fire pit anyway, so. Here's to hoping this worked. Bubba, what do you think? Do you think it worked? Bubba's not sure. All right. Oh, this is so much stiffer than I thought it was gonna be. Oh no. What did I do? Shit. Okay, the only thing that's gonna save me here is that epoxy really loosens up with a heat gun. So I went through each gore and clamped the curve in and then heat gunned the crease to fold it back the other way so that I could get these like scallops. And it wasn't quite as crisp as I visioned, but it could have been worse. All right, this is really gonna determine the trajectory of my next 12 hours as a human. And you know what? I think it's gonna work. It doesn't look too bad. And so I glued all of those little semicircles into place with a gap filling a thickened epoxy. And then in the morning, I took all the clamps off and tried it on the mannequin. We might be out of mannequin territory on this. Theoretically, I just need to like sort out the waistband situation and throw a coat of varnish on it. There's definitely a lot of things I would do differently if I was making the skirt again. Half of me wants to make the skirt again so that I can do those things differently, and the other half of me never wants to touch this project again. I opted for no waistband, so I just cut off the top and sanded it into a nice, comfortable shape. All right, we're trying it on. The skirt fits surprisingly well on an actual person. Ah, shit, how does it look? I know over the jumpsuit isn't really the best, but. Man, the camera monitor is not, it does not work as a mirror. I can't actually, so you guys are getting a preview of what this looks like before I am. Sexy doctor is not on my to-do list. And yes, before everyone pretends to be concerned, I did line the inside with soft fabric. modeling this as a given because it's my size, but my real vision for this dress involves point shoes and a ballerina. So meet Tia. This is what I love about fashion projects, is that fashion is such an extension of humanity, and like the right person with the right project is so magical, and I'm getting such a high from the payoff of having made this thing and then having a model who's just bringing it to life. Ah, you're so beautiful, it's crazy!
Oh my god, that's such a beautiful piece of artwork. Not even just a costume, but a living piece of art.
Oh,
yeah.